All right, this is the notes for Unit 1, el verbo ser. So we're going to talk about this verb. This is a really important foundational verb in Spanish. It's also a very common one, and in English as well. So this verb means to be, but I actually want to talk about this verb to be in English for a second first. So in English, we have the verb to be. And anytime that a verb has the word to in front of it, that's called an infinitive. So other examples of infinitives are to walk, to dream, to sleep, to drive. All of those are infinitives. The infinitive typically isn't used in a sentence. You don't say, I to be American. You would change it and use a form of the infinitive that matches with the subject. So for example, sticking with to be, if we were talking about, like my example, I to be American, we wouldn't use to be, we would change that to I am American. Or if we were talking to someone, we could say you are American. If we were talking about he or she, we could say he or she is American. If our subject is we would say we are American. If my subject was y'all, we would also say are, y'all are American. And if I'm talking about a group of people, I could say they are American. So these words that I'm underlining, am, are, and is, are all different forms of the infinitive to be. So this process is called conjugating, when you take the infinitive form and then you change it to match the subject. And by match the subject, I mean that most of these forms, am, are, is, can only be used with certain subjects. So if I'm talking about myself, my nationality, I have to use am. If I say I are American, it sounds weird. People might understand me, but it would definitely be something that they notice because it's not technically correct. Or like if I said, he am American. We can tell as English speakers that that's not correct, and it's because we're having two forms of the verb that are going with a subject that it doesn't match with. So we already do this in English naturally. So in Spanish, we'll have to do the same process. So going back now to our chart. So the verb ser, like I said, means to be. And then we have different forms of the verb. So I'm going to underline the forms of the verb, and I would like you to underline them on your paper too. So soy, eres, es, somos, sois, and son. So those forms of the verbs only match up with the subjects that they're written next to. So yo soy means I am. Tú eres is you are, and that's the informal you. Él, ella, usted, es. This is kind of an interesting one translation-wise. So él or ella, es, would be he or she is. But usted es, in English, we would translate as you are, even though it's the word es. You are, and that is the formal you. So before, when we were looking at the chart with subject pronouns, usted was up here with tú because they're both second person pronouns. They're talking to people. But in Spanish, when we conjugate él, ella, and usted, always use the same form of the verb. No matter what it is, they always use the same form of the verb. In this case, es. All right, and over on the right side, nosotros somos is we are. Vosotros sois is y'all are. And again, this would only be used in Spain. And then we have ellos son ellas son, or ustedes son. So those three subject pronouns, ellos, ellas, ustedes, all use the same form of the verb. So ellos son or ellas son would be they are, and ustedes son would be you all are. All right, let's go ahead and get some practice with these different forms of the verb, using them in sentences. All right, so the instructions say, use the chart above to fill in the blank with the correct form of ser. So there are 6 forms of the verb ser: soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. You're going to choose one of those to put in the blank. There are more than 6 blanks, so you will definitely use some of them more than once. Go ahead and pause the video now so that you can fill it in with your best guess. And then once you fill them in, come back and check. All right, so número 1 is yo soy de México. Número 2, vosotros sois de España. Número 3, tú eres de Tegucigalpa, Honduras. Número 4, ellas son de la Argentina. Número 5, él es el maestro de español. Número 6, nosotros somos amigos. Número 7, ella no es la maestra de español. Número 8, ellos son refrescos. I don't know where that sentence came from, but I'm keeping it because it makes me laugh. Número 9, usted no es de Guatemala. And number 10, Susana y yo. This is like saying someone else and me. So we are from San Juan, Puerto Rico. So we're going to use the form of ser that matches with nosotros, because that means we. So somos. Susana y yo somos de San Juan, Puerto Rico.